Hi weaving friends, thanks so much for joining me today. Today's video is a bit more relaxing and slow paced. There's a little bit of weaving, a little bit of machine knitting and a little bit of homestead stuff as well, and a whole lot of chatting. So if you are in a chatty mood, I hope you are, grab a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or a glass of wine if it's that time of day wherever you are, and join me on a creative afternoon. There are a couple of things that I wanted to tell you about, just things that I've been doing, things that I've been up to since my last video. And I'll say a quick thank you, but I don't want to talk too much about my last video. You can go and watch that if you haven't watched it already. It's all about burnout and making positive changes. I think that I'll probably do an update on that video at some point, but I don't want to take up heaps of time here at the moment talking about it. But I did just quickly want to say a heartfelt thank you to everyone who emailed, messaged, left me comments. Everything was just so beautiful and thoughtful and really helpful too. You've given me some ideas for going forward, and I'm implementing a lot of things that are helping me to feel a lot more positive. So one thing that I've been doing a lot in the evenings is knitting, and this is hand knitting with needles. I have been a knitter for a very long time, but in recent years I haven't made very much time for knitting for obvious reasons. I've just been so busy, and so I find that hand knitting is just really relaxing for me in the evenings, watching a movie with my family or just talking or whatever we're doing, and I can just sit there with some simple knitting projects and quietly participate in the family life as well. So what I've been doing heaps of is dishcloths. These are some of the dishcloths here. I've been knitting these with Yarn and Colours Epic Cotton. In Australia, I got mine from Adelaide Hills Yarn Company. They are also available in various places overseas, but I believe they're produced in Holland. It's a really lovely soft cotton, perfect for dishcloths. It's just the right weight as well. It says that it's like an iron weight, but it's kind of on the light side of that. It's almost leaning towards a DK weight, but just a little bit thicker. So it's perfect for dishcloths. So I've been experimenting with a bunch of different simple knitting stitches. Some of them are just like your basic knit 2, purl 1, knit 2, purl 1, repeat, and then on the next row purl 1, knit 2, and then chuck some garter stitch in there as well occasionally, things like that. And then a bit of moss stitch, and also I did this really fun one. This was my last one. It's like a checkerboard pattern. And I really liked this one, and I got it from this book, the Knitting All Around Stitch Dictionary, which is a really nice little knitting book if you're looking for, you know, to learn and to have like a database of some extra stitches that you might want to try. There are some 2-color techniques in there as well, which I haven't tried yet, but it's really nice just to have that reference point to go to. And yes, this lovely checkerboard pattern is one of my favorites. Let's have a look. There we can just see. And then on the other side, it looks like this. So obviously I haven't woven in ends and that kind of thing yet. But yep, that's going to be a whole new stack of dishcloths for us, which will be great because so many of them are years and years old now. I've got woven dishcloths, crocheted dishcloths, and knitted dishcloths. All different ones, and they're all fantastic, but it's really nice to have some new ones. It feels very luxury the first time that you use a brand new handmade dishcloth. I also wanted to tell you about and show you this new project. This is from my Inkle bands and bag project pattern. This is my latest release of my patterns available in my Etsy shop. And this is completely made up of Inkle bands. So for those of you who, and I know there are many of you, you say, oh, I love the way Inkle bands look, but what do you actually do with them? Most of the time my answer is they sit on a shelf because I usually don't do much with them. I just like to have them, which is, yeah, not that productive, is it? But to actually get around to making something with them is really fun. So if you're in the situation of you want some nice Inkle band patterns to weave, but you want to complete a project with them at the end, this could be the perfect project for you. So the pattern includes 5 main Inkle band designs, but then one of the band designs has 2 color variations, and that is, if you have a look at this one here that looks like stained glass, it has a dark variation and a light variation. And then there are other lovely patterns for you to try as well. They're all plain weave, so they're all very straightforward. The only thing that I recommend is that if you are an absolute beginner to Inkle weaving, like haven't done any before, really not familiar with the whole process, then I recommend that you start with my Inkle weaving course, which will show you everything you need to know and then a little bit more about weaving on your Inkle loom. So that's another thing that I've really been enjoying lately in the evenings when I'm not knitting my cloths, or sometimes I do both, is that I can have my Inkle loom on my lap, and it's really relaxing. I usually warp it during the day so that it's ready for the evening, and then I can just weave on a band for as long as I want to in the evenings. Really enjoying that. So if that interests you, I'm going to leave links down below to the pattern and to the course and anything else that I've mentioned. I'll leave a link to the knitting book as well. Pretty much anything that I mention in my videos, you should be able to find links below. So just pop down there and check if there's anything that you're interested in. Speaking of books, I have been going through my Tapestry books again. So I've got 3 Tapestry books, and I've talked about these in other videos before, so I'm not going to talk about them a lot today. But the one that I'm reading through at the moment, rereading I should say, because I've read it before, is Tommye Scanlin's Tapestry Design Basics and Beyond. And you know, as often happens, you get more out of the second read than you did in the first read, which I thought was really interesting. So I'm really enjoying this book this time, and I really like all of the examples, the real life examples of tapestry artist work that you can see in this book, because that's really inspiring. And there's also information on each of the artworks, so that if you see one that you really like, you can find out a little bit more about it, like about the actual intention of the piece, or some of the techniques used, or some of the colors used, you know, just those things that help you build in your mind stepping stones towards your own ideas for your own projects. So last summer, it's spring here in Australia, so we're heading into summer again. But last summer, so almost a year ago, one of my aims and goals that I thought I would achieve, but I did not, was to get my tapestry loom warped up and to do at least one tapestry piece over that summer. That didn't happen because I was too busy. And this summer, I think that I absolutely must take the time and make the time to make that happen. I'm going to order some beautiful tapestry wools from the Australian Tapestry Workshop because we are very lucky to have them here in Australia. If you go on their website and just look at their colours, it's absolutely marvellous, the number of shades of colours that they have. So I'm trying to aim towards actually ordering, but I'm scared to order because I don't have a solid vision in my head of what I actually want to do yet. And so I feel like I need to make a sketch or whatever with colours to give myself a better idea of what colours I'm going to need to be ordering before I actually start a project. So that has been one of my big stumbling blocks. And I actually want to film another video about stumbling blocks, because recently I wrote out a list of things that I want to do but I have stumbling blocks about, and I've written out and sort of fleshed it out plans of action, like concrete plans of actions, steps that I can actually take to move forward, instead of having these things of always saying, I want to do that, I want to do that, I want to do that, but never actually having a way to start on any of those things and prioritizing them enough to do that. So that may be a future video if you're interested. So that's the one that I'm reading through at the moment, but I've also got the wonderful Tapestry Weaving by Kirsten Glasbrook. Very, very good and popular tapestry book. And I've also got Rebecca Mezoff's The Art of Tapestry Weaving. These are all fantastic tapestry books. Really, really good. I love them all for different reasons, and I'm planning at this stage to reread all of them because I have read them all before, and I just want to have a reread and go over things and really solidify things in my mind, so that I can move towards that first art piece that will, or sketch, cartoon, whatever you want to call it, to start moving towards doing a finished piece. Time for a sip of tea. So this morning, it's the weekend here, and this morning we went to a local country show where my daughter Gemma, who's 17 now, had entered one of her art pieces. It's a rooster. I'll try and have a shot of it up on the screen for you. It's the head of a rooster, and she drew this with pencil, colour pencil, and ink, so coloured ink pens. And she actually drew this for one of her students who is graduating this year as a graduation gift. And she ended up entering it in the local show, and we were very pleased to arrive today and see that she had won first prize. So that was a very happy occasion, and I'm very proud of the work that she does. She really has exceptional talent, and I'm looking forward to seeing what she does in the future with her drawing. My younger daughter, who keeps chickens herself and is very passionate about her chickens, she spent most of her time in the poultry shed, and it was actually great timing because she got to go around with the judge, who happened to be in there judging all of the birds at that time. And he was a really lovely man, and he let her tag along with him, and he explained to her with every bird that he was judging why he was judging it a certain way, what to look for in that breed of poultry, and just all this extra information, these things that you would never normally get to find out. So I really appreciated him doing that, and it's a really good reminder that there are learning experiences anywhere that you go, and they can just pop up, and all you have to do is be in the right place at the right time and just be open to talking to people and learning from them. So now that we're back home, it's rainy. It's become a rainy day. Thankfully, the rain held off for the morning so that we could attend the show. And my plans are to have a fairly quiet afternoon and hopefully to continue threading my smaller floor loom. And speaking of my smaller floor loom, we will go on and have a look at the project that I'm working on for that in a moment. So friends, I hope that you do enjoy this video today. I hope you like the slower, more relaxed pace. I certainly really enjoy making videos like this. It doesn't feel very much like work when I can just have you follow me around a little bit, and I can just show you what I'm up to. If you do enjoy the video, I would love for you to let me know by leaving a comment down below. So now let's go and have a look at what I'm doing on the floor loom. actually pretty excited about what I'm doing here. I've got a sample warp on my David loom, which is an 8-shaft 10 treadle loom, and I'm going to try summer and winter for the first time. And this is really exciting to me because I've been wanting to do this forever. A couple of reasons why I haven't done it up until now. First reason was I was a bit baffled by some of the aspects of summer and winter. It's a little bit different. It's kind of like you need to know a few additional things before you attempt to even look at a summer and winter draft, because it's a profile draft. If you haven't heard of that before, an easy explanation is that it's a draft that's been condensed down. I sort of think of it like a journalist's doing shorthand. It's basically writing out the same information, but because that information would be so long and so wide in a single draft, it's condensed down into these blocks. That was my first stumbling block, was the blocks. But I've got my head around that now, and it's actually quite simple once you know what it is. One thing is that I couldn't find initially what each block on the weaving draft represented. And so I would look at a profile draft for summer and winter, and there'd be blocks, maybe A, B, maybe A, B, C, D, like this draft. And I was like, well, okay, the A, B, C, D, that all represents something, but what is it that it represents? That information wasn't as readily available as you would think. It's really important information to be able to actually thread up for the draft, but I couldn't find it for quite a while. And then once I found the information, I think I first found it in a book, and then after that it was like it started popping up everywhere every time I was Googling something to do with summer and winter or whatever. As often happens. So maybe I had seen the information before, but I just hadn't registered it. I wasn't ready for it in my level of understanding. You know how that happens. Once something clicks, you seem to see that thing everywhere, and all of a sudden it really makes sense. Anyway, so I'm up to just the threading part at the moment. I have a short warp on so that I'm not overcommitting to anything. And this particular draft is it's often called a teacup and saucer draft. There's another name for it. It's not chariot wheels, is it? Might be something else. If I find it, I'll put it up on the screen. So have a look and see if there's any text on the screen. But I have just been absolutely in love with this draft for ever so long. And I see it as an integral part of my wanting to move forward with this coverlet journey. Let's call it my coverlet journey. It's a very faltering journey. Sometimes it goes ahead in leaps and bounds, and other times it's just kind of stuck. But so at the moment, I'm in a good place with it because I'm not stuck. I'm moving forward. I'm learning something, and I think this is going to help me a lot. So the things that really attracted me to summer and winter, without going into a full explanation of what the particulars of summer and winter weaving are, because it is kind of lengthy and could be a bit confusing for some people, like it has been for me for some time. But I'll just pop in here that I do recommend a class. It's by Madelyn van der Hoogt, and I think it's available through Long Thread Media now, I think, rather than Interweave. But again, I'll do my research while I edit this video, and I will pop a link for you down below in case you want to do that class as well. Madelyn's a fantastic teacher. So I've been through that class, and I'm still, periodically looking back on that class when something is a bit of a stumbling block. And I know that when I come to doing the tie-up for the treadling, I'm going to definitely go back to that class, because the tie-up and treadling is another major stumbling block for me, and a reason that I hadn't done summer and winter up until now. I think I've got it in my head, but just because I haven't done it practically yet, But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about it at this point because I've started with the threading, and the only other thing that is going to be a little bit tricky is the tie up and treadling. But I've got Madelyn's class to look back on and support me with that. And I have my wonderful coverlet books and that sort of thing to help me. And some of my other books, weaving books that I have, there's a little section on summer and winter. And so what I often do when I want to learn about a new weave structure or a new to me weave structure is I'll go through all of my books first, or at least the ones that I think might have that information that I'm after. And I read everything in each book that I have, and that starts to build a picture because each person explains things a little bit differently in each book. And you can start to build that picture, even if different people do things a little bit differently or explain them differently. The knowledge builds on the knowledge so that you come to a point of understanding. That's what happens with me anyway. So back to why I'm so interested in summer and winter. Well, you know that I love overshot. The great thing about summer and winter is you can even take an overshot draft, and some of the drafts, like this draft that I'm working on right now, is also applicable to overshot. You can weave it in overshot. So the pictures or the imagery, the patterns, they are a little bit similar to overshot. The difference is that summer and winter has tie-down sheds with every pattern pick. This is so interesting. And again, I'm not going to get right into it today. Maybe I can do a follow-up at some point when I actually start weaving or whatever, so that you can see it on the loom and it'll be maybe a bit more familiar than what I'm actually talking about. But you may remember this overshot piece that I wove some time ago. Was it last year? I don't know, maybe. Time goes so fast, I don't know what year I'm in half the time. But this beautiful piece, now from a distance, like from where I'm holding it at the moment, it probably looks quite uniform, like you can really see the pattern, and it doesn't look too textured. This is the other side. And so on, like you can just really look at the pattern and admire it. The thing that's always bothered me a little bit about overshot is the floats, and trying to be really careful and aware of the length of floats. And I've had the experience already of weaving a special overshot piece, taking it into the house rather than leaving it in the studio, because most things are safe in the studio, depending on whether or not the cat is around, but he's usually pretty respectful. But yeah, in the house is a different story because there are 2 dogs and a cat, and I've already had some of these floats pulled, accidentally pulled by claws or whatever. It's not a huge deal, but obviously if you spend a lot of time on something and it's a special piece, you want to preserve it and keep it beautiful. So let me bring this in a little bit closer so that you can really see these floats. All right, let's come up closer. The red ones are good ones to look at because they stand out, the red does. Okay, so you can see the float here. Let me grab my threading hook and then I can really illustrate what I mean here. So I can get my threading hook in among those floats. So you can imagine just by seeing that how easy it is for a claw or something similar, even a fingernail really, to just accidentally stick in there and pull something out. So that's always been something that has bothered me a little bit with overshot. But with summer and winter, you have those floats tied down. So with the overshot, the floats are really, truly floating on top of the ground weave or the tabby weave, plain weave in the background. But with summer and winter, you still have those pattern floats, but instead of floating right across, they're tied down by shafts 1 and 2. So I wanted to tell you what the threading is, because I was saying before that that was something that really confused me to begin with about the pattern blocks. So this particular draft has blocks A, B, C and D. So block A, if I look at it on the draft, and you can see the draft in front of you at the moment, that's actually 4 threads, and the threads for block A are 1, 3, 2 and 3. Now if we go on to block B is also 4 threads, and it's 1, 4, 2 and 4. So you can start to notice a bit of a pattern here. Block C, 1, 5, 2, 5, and block D is 1, 6, 2, 6. So you can see that the 1 and the 2 repeat every single shaft with the other shaft in between. So 1, 3, 2 and 3, 1, 4, 2 and 4, and the numbers are ascending, but those shafts 1 and 2 are always in there because they are the tie down shafts. And when it comes to actually treadling, and this is the part that I'm not 100% sure of yet, but I think that I will just get it by doing it, but you need to use more treadles because of those tie down shafts to make sure that they happen each time. I will cross that bridge when I come to it, but I'm not too worried about it because I really thought for a long time that the threading was really difficult, and the threading is just so simple. It's so easy and so repetitive. What I do, and I'm only doing, I should point out, I'm only doing half of this draft because I just wanted to do a smaller sample, and I wanted to just get my hands on it and get in there because I was just so tired of always saying to myself, I want to do summer and winter. I love summer and winter. I love the way it looks. I just really want to do it. And then constantly having these stumbling blocks of, well, I can't do it because of this, 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 and this. So to slowly work through those and to actually start doing them and then go, oh, well, that thing that I thought was almost impossible is actually really simple. That is very heartening. I haven't yet decided what I'm using for the weft. For the warp, I've just got some white 8/2 cotton, which is pretty classic for summer and winter. I'm weaving at 20 ends per inch, and whatever I use for the weft, it will be, I know it'll be dark blue because that's just so traditional and classic for summer and winter. And it will be a wool. Not sure what weight of wool yet. I have to go through my supplies and see what I've got. There is one wool in particular that I'd really love to use, but it's really thin, so I'd have to get quite a few strands of it. Anyway, that's for later on. So for now, I'm going to keep threading with this, and I will hopefully update you on this at another time. Super happy with how that went. This knitting machine has been such a struggle for me. It still is a struggle, and I was at the point of just recently saying, if I don't start using this machine more regularly, it's taking up too much space that could be used for other things, and I'm going to pack it away in its case and put it away somewhere if I don't start using it more regularly. And I felt so guilty about that because when I got this machine secondhand last year, over a year ago now, I was so enthusiastic about the possibilities of garment making and doing all kinds of really fantastic knitting on it. And then I found that it was a lot harder to master than I first thought. And so I did have a really good go at it over last winter, but I was just getting very frustrated. And the lady that I bought the machine from, she was really helpful to get me started. I messaged her a fair bit in the beginning, but it's different when you have someone actually with you and can say, look, you're going wrong here, or whatever it is. And I was completely unfamiliar with knitting machines when I bought this, but I had always wanted one. So this one is a Singer knitting machine, and it's a fine gauge. The fine gauge is lovely because you can use really fine wools. I'm using this is an Australian 3-ply, which the best way I can probably describe it is between a lace weight and fingering weight. I could also use a lace weight on this machine. And while that is really nice, it's also a little bit limiting for me because when I've been trying to learn hand techniques like casting off using different techniques very close to the machine and not just relying on the carriage of the machine to do things, I've found that really difficult because it's very hard to see even when I'm wearing my glasses, which makes me think I might need to visit the optometrist and get an update on how my eyes are going, because I just find it really difficult to see. And then I find that I'm kind of bent over the knitting machine for ages and it's not good for me. Anyway, so I'm sort of talking about the downsides of it, but what I wanted to say is today I'm very happy because the last time that I used this machine, which was maybe the week before last, not so long ago, it just went terribly. I was doing slip stitch, 2-color slip stitch using punch cards, and I eventually did come up with some samples that were okay, not brilliant. Oh, actually, this is one of them here. So yeah, some of it turned out okay, but I found it very tedious. It was tedious going, and also I had a lot of trouble in the beginning just casting on my stockinette and knitting a bit of stockinette stitch, and I can't explain why, but today when I cast on this sample, no problems whatsoever, and it just started knitting up beautifully in stockinette. So I thought, instead of doing the slip stitch again, trying 2-color slip stitch, I thought I'll do some fairer because I really love fairer, and it's just has gone fantastically. So what I really like about the fairer, besides the patterning, which is the obvious bonus of how it actually looks, I'm going to show you my sample up close in a minute. I really like that you can thread the 2 yarns into the carriage, whereas with the slip stitch 2 colors, you are threading and unthreading yarn A and yarn B, so your 2 colors. In fairer, you thread up A and B into the carriage, and away you go, and it just lays out the colors in the right places for you. The only downside of fairer that I find is that on the back of the work, the floats are really long, which makes it, well, it depends on the pattern, but the floats can be very long, which makes it a lot more impractical. So now that I have knitted a sample successfully and it felt really easy and breezy today, then I've regained a bit of confidence with the machine. And it makes me think, well, maybe I just need to stick to what works well for me at the moment, and then just sort of introduce the other techniques one at a time, and also learn the things that I really want to learn, like proper casting off, all those kind of things, which I've done a little bit of, but it certainly hasn't been easy. You know, this project was really good for me today too, because I had to think about, why did it go so badly last time? It wasn't just that I was doing the 2-color slip stitch. That wasn't the only thing, because as I said in the beginning, the casting on and the stockinette was just a nightmare. I kept ending up with a bird's nest, and it was so frustrating. I took the sample off the machine about 5 times before I actually started knitting it well enough to be able to complete the sample. And reflecting back on that was in relation to my last video, I think very much a reflection of how I was feeling at the time, that I was already feeling frustrated and overwhelmed and overtired and all of that stuff that I talked about in my burnout video, and that it just so much filters through to everything that you do, whether it's a craft or your job or your interactions with other people, your family, and just like how effective you are as a person. And so I'm doubly happy today because I've had this success, but I feel like I'm on the other side of something that was burning and churning and a bit out of control. And today is a really great example of the shift in mindset, that I've been doing a lot of things today, but I haven't allowed myself to feel pressured by any of it. And it's just a completely different way of looking at things and feeling about things. And I much prefer this way, that I can just go from one thing to another without feeling so stressed. I think another time I might do an update video on my last burnout video. It's been a couple of weeks now since I made that video, and I've made a lot of changes as I discussed in the video. I've followed through with those things, and I do think an update video would be good at some stage. So now I want to show you what I actually knitted today. Another great thing is this really didn't take me very long, because when you don't have all the hassles of dealing with knots and cutting things off and restarting, things go very quickly and very smoothly. I also quickly just chose these two colours before I started without thinking about it too much. I don't have a huge array of colours when it comes to knitting machine yarns, but maybe I can expand on that over time if things keep going well with it. But I really like these colours. Obviously I haven't blocked this sample yet. It's just fresh off the machine, so if you block it afterwards, then it will come out a lot flatter than this. It just wants to curl up at the moment. This is the first ferrule pattern that I did. I thought you might like also to see the corresponding punch card, because that's always interesting to see how these holes and this arrangement of holes can knit this pattern, and how different this can look in different colours and different gauges and all of that as well. So I like that one. I think that's really nice. The next one along is a little bit bolder. This one's really nice. This would be great for a scarf. Let's see, this one was this punch card. Okay, I like that one. And then last of all, I did this one. I mean, they're all really nice. I don't think there are any patterns that I don't actually like. So, oh, I wanted to show you the floats on the back as well. Okay, so if you look at that pattern, this is what it looks like on the back. You can see the floats are quite long, which could be problematic for garment wearing, for a scarf or whatever. And then for this bolder pattern, the floats are even longer. Still, it's nice because it makes another pattern on the other side. And then this one, which was the first one that I did, that one has probably the shortest floats. That one is like, I think it's quite more than acceptable for the underside of a scarf or whatever. So I believe, so you can see these floats just moving around just as I put my fingers on them. I believe that you can't really do anything about the floats with ferrule. I don't really think there's any way around that, at least not with the machine that I have and that I use. So with my machine and the punch cards, there is something called an intarsia carriage that you can purchase. Well, not for my type of machine. I'd have to upgrade my machine to get that. But what that allows you to do is put more colour placement where you want it, but without the long floats. It's really good for very artistic kind of weaving. It's really, really interesting. And there are other types of carriages that you can get as well. But my machine is a bit more limited. Mine is really like a starting out machine. If you're interested in what I'm saying about intarsia carriages, have a look at Virginia Burrows. I'm not sure if it's Burrow or Burrows. Online. I'm going to leave you a link for her below. She's got an Instagram page, and she is one of my major inspirations as far as machine knitting goes. I really love her work. It's just beautiful. And she's an Australian, and she does a lot of, uses a lot of dyed yarns and that kind of thing. She also has a circular sock machine and makes socks. So check her out down below if you're interested in that. And then the last thing that I wanted to show you is, this was my vision for when I started out doing ferrule on my machine. I also, and I had to get these from China because there was really nowhere else to get them, but you can get these blank punch cards. I do think that some knitters, machine knitters, will make their own. You can also buy them already to the correct size and everything. So to bring in one of my other punch cards, so this one came with the machine already and all numbered and lettered and shows you exactly where to go. But what you can do is you can make your own designs, and then using a special card punch like this one, you can punch out the designs. So again, this is something that I did buy last year and haven't had a go at yet because I haven't had that level of confidence. But I'm feeling like I would very much like to investigate this now. The thing is that the punch cards, you get about 20 punch cards, depending on your machine. I got about 20 with mine. And so that is quite a few to be able to go through, and it gives you lots of options. But I always, with anything, whether it's weaving, whether it's a knitting machine or something else, I love to make my own designs from scratch and really make it as original as possible. So that is something that I really hope to play around with and investigate very soon. There's something else I wanted to tell you about the Fair Isle on the knitting machine, and I forgot. So I've got it up now. Recently I pre-ordered Nick Corrigan's new book, which is Fair Isle, and it's all knitting machine related. Nick runs the machine knit community online, and she has, I haven't joined myself, but I hope to do that one day because I've seen some beautiful projects come out of that. And she has all of these guests on and all of these different challenges and focuses at different times of the year. And she opens up the community a couple of times a year for people to join. I'll try and remember to leave the link to that below in case you're interested. I just want to read to you what it says about the book because I'm so excited about getting this. And I see that it says on here 10 days to go. And I don't know whether that means they're going to start sending the books out in 10 days because it's still on pre-order at the moment, or I don't know exactly what that means. I hope that that means that they'll start sending them out in 10 days because I can't wait to get my hands on this book. So it says, whether you're an experienced hand knitter taking up machine knitting for the first time, or an established machine knitter looking for the confidence and knowledge to further your skills, this accessible book offers a step-by-step guide to the practical techniques of Fair Isle knitting on the machine and the considerations that are specific to two-colour knitting. Includes 5 full patterns with colour charts. That sounds really good to me. And I think it will just help to cement the ideas that I've been having about Fair Isle and probably teach me a few things that I need to know about it before forging ahead. So I'm really looking forward to getting that one. And another thing I wanted to show you is a few days ago I got some new heddles for my rigid heddle Sampleit. So for ages and ages I've only had the 7.5 dent heddle on that. And there's been so many times when I've wanted to experiment with some extra heddles and in some different sizes to basically use my Sampleit, for what its original purpose is, for sampling. And I haven't been able to because I didn't have the correct sizes or the right number of heddles. And so anyway, that's a long story, but I got some new heddles for my Sampleit, and I got them from Tracy at Knit Spin Weave. I get a ton of my Ashford products from Tracy. She's an Ashford dealer, obviously. She is in Clare in South Australia. She's got a lovely little shop there, and in addition to looms, she stocks all kinds of lovely fibre things. If she was closer to me, I would probably be there almost every day. But anyway, she sent me this lovely handmade Merry Christmas card with a black cockatoo on it, which is very Australiana. But she also sent me a thank you card, but it's what is written on the thank you card. I love that it's got this little envelope thing that it comes out of. It says, "Hi Kelly, thank you so much for the support over the years. You make the world a better place for so many. Much love, Tracy." Isn't that beautiful? I love that. And over the years, Tracy has put in so many lovely little cards or little extras into my parcels. She's just a wonderful, generous person. So, and thoughtful too. So I'm going to link to her shop down below. If you are not in South Australia like me, you can either call the shop or email and order things in. I've done that a lot of times, just emailed, said, this is what I need. And she's like, yep, I can get it sent out to you straight away. And the shipping's always really, really fast.